Wrokdown.
Hi, welcome to Wrokdown. I'm Wendy Stapleton. Pick an early singer-songwriter from the US and you'll find them living in relative comfort, backed by record deals and surrounded by managers, lawyers and accountants. A lot of them don't even need to play for a living, but they do, because it's their profession. Pick an early singer-songwriter in Australia and you'll find a different story. In fact, I think I'll ask our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Russell Morris.
Hi, Wendy.
Hey, Russ, how are you?
I'm good.
Is that true? Of the early days? No
the
money?
early days, yeah. Well, it was like football. I always refer back to footy. It's like footy. You know, we played for the jumper. We wanted to play for the jumper and play for the team. And if we earned a little bit of money, we were quite happy. And we didn't realise that there was a lot more money that was being hidden from us, that the promoters who were putting on shows, like at the Festival Hall and things like that, and we would walk away with $150 or something. And there'd been like 6,000 kids there. There was a lot of money there, but we didn't care then, you know. And I didn't even know you got money for writing songs. I wrote songs and didn't know that there was any such thing as royalties for a while.
Who was managing you?
Ian Meldrum. And Ian's never been the guy that cares about money.
See, I was going to say, he was probably exactly the same. He just loved it so much.
Yeah, he did. It was incredible. And we just wanted to do it. As long as we got some money to run our cars and eat and things like that, we were fine.
Yeah, I know. So many people say the same thing. You're a Richmond boy.
Grew up in Richmond, yeah.
Grew up in Richmond. Did you learn guitar, or did it just happen that one day you...
No, what happened, I had a whole lot of friends who had formed a band, and they had a guy called Ronnie Charles singing, and I would go along to the rehearsals and the parties, and we were all mates, and I was at college, and I'd gone from Richmond Tech, I'd finished there and gone on to Swinburne. I was doing accountancy, and yeah, great, isn't it?
It is great. That's
my accountant
fantastic.
hates me because I can't even, my checkbooks, it's just like a bird's been walking over them.
Oh, just love
with
it.
ink on its feet.
You did accountancy and didn't know that you got royalties for songwriting.
Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? Well, it's a different sort of
it's
thing.
a different world.
Yeah, and until recently, I didn't even know what sync fees were. It was Jim Keays that told me what they were, and they're a fee that you get for when they use your original record in a movie. You're supposed to get the money. I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Yes. Oh, you don't know it either. I didn't know it. And Jim said to me, how much did you get for the dish? And I said, what do you mean? I said, oh, it was good. And he said, and your sync fees, that must have been great. And I went, yeah, they were great. And I sat down and I thought,
then did you run out
do
the
I
back
want
and ring
do I
someone up?
do I want to ring him and make an idiot of myself? So I finally rang him up and I said, Jim, what are sync fees? He said, you have to be kidding. You don't. And he explained it to me. So yeah, I went to Richmond Tech and I was doing accountancy, and my friends were in a band and they were sort of, they would rehearse. I'd go to the rehearsals and we'd have parties and everyone, we knew each other, and I would sing along with the guys, but I had no ambitions to go into music. I wanted to be an actor. That's what I would have loved to have done, yeah. And I was just doing my thing, and then Brian Cadd came along and poached Ronnie from the band, Somebody's Image, and took him, and they formed the band, the group, the GROOP. And so they had no singer. So they came and saw me and said, listen, would you like to sing with us? I said, listen, I don't know if I can. They said, no, you'll be all right. We've heard you singing. So just join us for Christmas and see how you feel.
Isn't it fantastic?
I joined them for Christmas, yeah.
And stayed.
And stayed. And this is how stupid the business is and how innocent it was then. Here we were, a young band who could really hardly play. The group who had been kind to us, what they did, they felt so guilty that they'd stolen Ron. They were working at Anglesea Surf Lifesaving Club. And they didn't want to spend all night playing 4 sets. They wanted someone to fill in the middle so they could go out the back and drink.
Yeah.
So they said, why don't you come along and play a big set in the middle? And we thought, oh, that's nice. So we went down to play. And while they rushed out the back to drink. And unbeknownst, with them, they had a gopher roadie friend Ian Meldrum, who tagged along with them, who kept saying, let me manage your band, let me, and they're going, Ian, we're not going to let you manage the band, are you kidding, you know? And they kept sloughing him off. We went on stage, and it just so happened that a lot of my earlier days, going to Richmond Tech, I would hitchhike down to Anglesea every weekend or Torquay and surf. So I knew all the people in the area, all the guys. So we went on stage and started playing, and the audience went nuts. They erupted, and Meldrum's going, these guys must be good. So imagine this, he comes up to us and says, hi, I'm Ian Meldrum. We knew him because he was sort of doing a little column in Go Set at the time. Okay. So we knew his name, and he said, I think you guys are great. Can I see you tomorrow? So we meet him on the beach the next day, and he said, what I'd like to do, I'd really like to manage you guys. I can get you a record deal and I'll produce your records. And we went, oh, that sounds good. Can you imagine doing it now? Someone come up to you on the street, you would go, well, what credibility do you have?
Absolutely.
You know? And that's why people say, oh, your talent has carried you through. It's luck. I really believe the music business is probably 60 to 70% luck. For that to be such a lucky thing that Ian took our records, he could have been absolutely hopeless and had no idea. But it turned out that he was a phenomenal record producer, and he produced things on 4-track
So
machines.
he did have an idea?
Yeah, he sort of had an instinct. He would get an engineer and he would get the band to play and play and play and play, and everyone would be sort of tired and playing things, and he would not lose interest. He would keep the focus, and he'd be listening, and he'd go, that's it! That's exactly what I want you to play. Do that, do that.
We'll take a short break and come back soon.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My special guest is Russell Morris.
We didn't have a record deal, so Ian actually went out and got us a record with W&G Records.
Yeah.
And said, I've got the... So we thought, well, he's got us a record deal.
You've got to let him produce it.
Let's let him produce it, you know. And he was phenomenal. You know, he was incredible. He would do things like... to the guitar player, I need it to sound like, this is not exactly his exact words, but it was almost like this. I need it to sound like very white stars on a very cold night. It's like, what, the guitar player, what drugs is he on?
Yeah.
And you could sit in the studio, as I said, for 4 hours, and everyone else is going, oh, I can't stand this anymore. And he'd be listening and listening. Finally, someone would play something and he'd go, that's it. That's the one. That's exactly what I want. And he would never lose the focus. And then, as it turned out, everything he did, really, he was right.
Worked.
Yeah, he's got a great ear, a really good ear. And mixing it, that was where Ian drove everyone nuts. He would get you in there the next day at 11 o'clock, and you'd be there till 3 o'clock in the morning. And you think, after like weeks of this, he'd go, it's finished, it's finally finished. And you go, oh, thank God. So you go home, you're asleep, the next morning the phone rings, and like I was living with my parents, and my nana would come in and say, oh, it's Ian on the phone. I'd go, oh, okay, get up. We've got to go back into the studio. I'm not happy with it, we're going to do it again. This happened probably 10 times. That drove you nuts. It was
it EMI? Did you say
EMI had
or W&G?
It was W&G, and then we went to EMI. And
so what, who just kept shelling out?
Well, they were paying the money, and then they finally flipped out, and they said, listen, this is just rubbish. We haven't heard a thing. We've spent a lot of money, which wasn't a lot of money then.
They hadn't played anything.
No, and we're coming down to Melbourne to hear what you're doing. So I think it was Sir Ken East, and his offsider came down, and it was one night we were in the studio in Albert Park, Armstrong's, which is on Albert Road, the golf course across the road. And that was Essendon Airport then. They were driving in, they rang from the airport, we're on our way, and Ian's panicked. He's going, they're going to hate it, what am I going to do? I said, no, it'd be ridiculous, the song's great, they're going to love it, you know. And the engineer, John, is saying, don't, Ian, this is shattering stuff, and people are going to love it. So Ian panicked before they got there and took the master tapes and ran across the road into the golf course. So they get there and there's no tapes, and they went berserk. So we gave them torches and went looking for Ian on the golf course, and we found him eventually on the golf course.
What was he doing?
He was hiding in a bunker with them.
Oh my God.
So we convinced him to come back, and he's saying to me, they're going to hate it.
So, if you told people, if it hadn't come from your mouth, there's no way anyone would believe it.
Well, every time I mentioned to Bill Armstrong, Never happened. I said, it did, Bill. Never happened. Not at all. Bill, you weren't there. You were never there. You were never in the studio. So anyway, we get it back and we put it on and he's panicked and we're really excited. We put it on and played it flat out. And he was right. They looked at each other and then looked at us and said, that is shocking. And turned on their heel and left. And I said, we'll call you tomorrow. And they rang us and said that they weren't going to release it. That it was the biggest load of rubbish they'd ever heard. And they would probably only release it in Melbourne just to try and make their money back. And that's how it's done. And then, so we drove around the country to radio stations, which you could do then, and knocked on the door and saw the program manager and said, would you play this if we released it? Yeah, sure we would, you know, and that's how it happened.
The real thing, and we won't stay on this for very long, but it was such a phenomenal hit in Australia. How long did it stay in the charts?
I think it was number 1, 24 weeks or 20, I don't know. It was a long time.
It was
long time,
absolutely huge. And of course, still to this day, it's on.
Yeah, it still does. I'm very grateful to the song. It's great.
Did it chart in England?
No, they wouldn't release it in England.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, and that's how I became released from my EMI contract. Ken East, who was lovely to me, and he was just fantastic, worked tirelessly to try and get England to release it over there. And EMI just didn't want to know about it. And he was furious. So he said, come up to the office, you know, when you're in Sydney. So I went up and he said, listen, I'm so furious at the company. He said, they just refused point blank to support you. Should I have this here for you? And it was a release from my contract.
So what did you do then? You did go over to England, didn't you?
Yes, I went to England eventually with Paul Dainty. He became a manager. So I had a release. So I was a free agent to go anywhere I wanted. But Diamond Records released it in America, and Diamond Records was like a backyard record label. Yeah. And it had a distribution deal through someone like Columbia or RCA or something like that. And right at the time when independents were trying to make their voice as independent little labels, the big ones were trying to stamp them out. So they refused to distribute. But they had good distribution in certain states, and it went to top 10 in Texas, made the charts in New York, and the other states, nothing. California, nothing. They wouldn't distribute it or anything.
We'll take a short break and be back soon.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My guest is the one and only Mr. Russell Morris. I've seen a beautiful film clip, and I don't know how far back it goes, but you all look very young boys as yourself.
Oh yeah, the
Darryl Cotton,
Gumleaf Mafia, yeah.
Billy Thorpe, Rick Springfield, and Caddy.
And
Ray
Colin Burgess.
Ray Burgess.
Yeah.
Singing. Can you remember the name of the song?
We're the Happy Hour Brigade. Drinking Foster's in the shade.
Is it on YouTube?
Brian's got it.
We'll have to play it for you. It's quite spectacular. So obviously at that stage you were all over there.
Steve Kipner as well.
Steve Kipner?
Yeah.
So there was a little Aussie mafia over there.
Yeah, there was, and we had a lot of fun. You know, did some crazy things.
You're working at the moment with Brian Cadd?
Yeah.
Your buddy? Your partner in crime.
He's so insulting. He insults me all the time. He's shocking.
You're both shocking.
No,
I'm nice. I heard you out there. You're like two big girls.
He starts it.
He starts it. Yeah. All I want to do now is get Molly and sit him in the middle of the three of you. Let you go.
Oh, that'd
be good.
That'd be funny.
Russ, you have 2 albums out. One that was recorded last year for Mushroom Blue Label.
Yep, the Blue Label.
And that was called?
That was called The Fundamentalist.
And is it all new material, or did you?
No, the deal was they wanted you to do all the older stuff, but in a different vein, like acoustically. And I just stuck a few songs on there, new ones. And it's done well. I'm pleased. I didn't think it'd do as well as it did.
Do radio stations give you the airplay for these sort of later albums? Do you think they give you the airplay because it's been done as a sort of acoustic thing, or because of the fact that they already know that the songs were hits What do you think?
Yeah, but 50% of both. I think they do it because the song's recognisable to their audience and it's a new version of it. But you wouldn't hear it on Triple M, for instance, or Fox. They won't play songs that people haven't heard before. If you do a new album that's all new material, very difficult as an artist over 30 to get anything played.
It's really hard, isn't it? So then, I guess then it's people our age that are still going out there and sourcing CDs.
Yeah, well, I was just saying before, James Rain's last album was absolutely fabulous. Never heard one track played on radio. It was a great album.
This happens all the time.
Yeah.
This happens all the time. So that one did okay for you. That's great. The new album is literally, as you said, 2 days old.
Just picked it up 2 days ago. Yeah, that was recorded. What I was doing is I've been writing to try and get other artists to do my songs. So I've been putting songs down and down and down and down and down with the guitar player I work with, Peter Robinson, and we co-write them.
He's a great guitarist.
He's awesome, yeah. And he said to me, we should do this as an album. So we started cleaning everything up and getting it right. And this was all recorded at his house. He's got quite an elaborate setup, but then we took it to another studio, Adrian Hannon, who's a fantastic sound mixer, and he just mixed it. And it's come up. It's probably the best album I've done, strangely enough. Yeah, I think it is.
It's out?
It's out, yes.
Is it indie?
Well, I haven't got to deal with it. I just sell it at gigs, that sort of stuff.
Website?
Websites, yeah.
What is your website?
Just www.russellmorris.com.au.
Fantastic. So that album's called?
That one's called Jumpstart Diary.
You're going to do a song for us now?
Yes.
Live or pretending to be live?
No, I'm singing it live.
No, I know. I'm only
I haven't got the
stirring
whole
you
band
up.
in here.
You know me. What's it called?
It's called Get Your Mind Right.
We're going to take you out with Russell Morris singing Get Your Mind Right. Thank you. See you next week.
Sometimes I get the strangest feelings. Sometimes, like I'm about to fall. Some nights I wake up in a fever. Sometimes it's like I've hit the wall. Can you see? I'm still running. Can you feel it's still coming? And I tell myself everything is fine. Get your mind right, get your mind right. Come on, get your mind right. And I tell myself everything has its time. Pieces come together, better late than never. Some days it's like it's all for nothing. And some days I feel stronger than before. Some say that the getting's worth the waiting. But some days, you know I can't even score. 'Cause I feel it's still coming. Can you hear it's still running? And I tell myself everything is fine. Get your mind right, get your mind right. Come on, get your mind right. And I tell myself everything has its time. The pieces come together, better late than never. The moment is keeping my faith, 'cause you carry it with you the day you're born. I'm keeping my faith, 'cause it's always darkest before the dawn. I'm keeping my faith, 'cause tomorrow is written on the page that's torn. I'm keeping my faith. I'm keeping my faith. I'm keeping my faith. I'm keeping my faith. And I tell myself everything is fine. Get your mind